After Liam Lawson's less-than-satisfactory performance at the Chinese Grand Prix, a major shock has rocked the Red Bull camp. Rumors are getting louder that Yuki Tsunoda is in serious talks to join the main Red Bull racing team. This speculation has been fueled after Dr. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's advisor, was caught on camera leaving the Alpine team area during the race weekend. Is this a sign of a major change in Red Bull's driver lineup this season? Let's discuss it. Since replacing Daniel Ricciardo at the team, Liam Lawson has not been able to deliver the performance expected from Red Bull. Although he was once touted as one of the most talented young drivers in the world of racing, his results in recent races have been far from satisfactory. His poor qualifying results, where he has twice had to settle for 20th place on the grid, are clear evidence that he is struggling to adapt to the car and the fierce competition in Formula One. Not only that, but his failure to score points, even when 3 other drivers were disqualified from the race, reinforces the belief that he is not competitive enough to compete at the highest level. With this in mind, Red Bull have begun to consider strategic moves to improve their driver lineup. Rumors are circulating that Lawson will most likely return to Racing Bulls, the team that was previously his stepping stone to F1. This move is seen as a sensible one, given that Racing Bulls is Red Bull's junior team, which focuses more on developing young drivers. On the other hand, Yuki Tsunoda is now one of the strong candidates to fill the main seat at Red Bull. The Japanese racer has shown significant improvements in recent seasons, both in terms of consistency and speed on track. His increasingly mature demeanor and ability to handle pressure make Red Bull see him as a more promising option to accompany Max Verstappen in the future. In his latest statement, Yuki Tsunoda confidently insisted that he is 100% ready to move up to the main Red Bull team. The Japanese driver believes that if given the opportunity, he will have no problem adapting to a more competitive car than the one he currently drives for RB, formerly AlphaTauri. Tsunoda believes that the experience and development he has shown over the past few seasons is enough to prove that he deserves to be promoted to Red Bull Racing. Despite this confidence, the situation remains under intense scrutiny. Tsunoda's statement was quickly shut down by Red Bull's PR team, who seemed intent on controlling the narrative regarding potential driver changes at the main team. Red Bull themselves are still in the process of evaluating their driver lineup for next season, and announcing a decision too soon could impact the current team dynamic, especially for Sergio Perez, who is still trying to hold onto his seat. Regardless, Tsunoda continues to show his seriousness and ambition to get the opportunity to defend the main Red Bull team. He is aware that it is not just about speed, but also about being able to meet the challenge of adapting his racing style to the characteristics of the Red Bull car. At the moment, Max Verstappen is the only one who can really optimize the performance of the Red Bull car. One of Tsunoda's biggest challenges will be adapting to Red Bull's car design philosophy, which is very much based on Verstappen's preferences. The 3-time world champion prefers a car with a very responsive front end to accommodate his aggressive cornering style. However, the trade-off for this setup is that the rear of the car is more difficult to control, which often makes it difficult for other drivers to achieve consistent performance. Sergio Perez, for example, has struggled to adapt to the Red Bull car. He has struggled to find a rhythm at times, especially as the car has evolved to suit Verstappen's needs. If Tsunoda is to be successful at Red Bull, he will have to prove that he can adapt quickly and cope with the pressure that he experienced in the junior team. In addition to technical factors, Tsunoda must also show improvements in terms of consistency, mentality, and his ability to work with the team. Red Bull is known as a team that does not hesitate to make drastic decisions regarding its drivers, as happened with Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon. Therefore, if he really wants to replace Perez, Tsunoda will have to convince Red Bull that he is not only a potential choice, but also the best choice to accompany Verstappen in the hunt for the title. On the other hand, Liam Lawson has not been silent about the rumor. In an interview, the New Zealander stated that his time in F1 is not over and that he has a better track record than Tsunoda at various levels of previous competitions. "I was his teammate in Formula 3 and I beat him. I also beat him in Euro Formula and in New Zealand. If you see how he always gets promoted before me, it should be my turn now," said Lawson. Although his statement sounded confident, many believe that the pressure from Tsunoda has made Lawson even more frustrated. It could also be a sign that his position at Red Bull is increasingly under threat. Amid the uncertainty surrounding the Red Bull team's driver lineup, there has been speculation that the team may be considering other names as alternatives. One name that has been mentioned recently is Franco Colapinto. This rumor grew stronger after Helmut Marko, a figure who has a great deal of influence in determining riders within the Red Bull family, was seen in the Alpine team area during the Chinese GP. Marko's presence there has led to speculation, including claims that Red Bull is exploring other options to fill the Racing Bull seat or even Red Bull Racing in the future. However, not everyone sees this option as the better move, especially when it comes to replacing Liam Lawson. Lawson himself has shown his potential as a talented driver and has had experience driving Formula One cars on several occasions. Meanwhile, Colapinto managed to score points in his second race in Baku, but his performance has actually declined since then. He was more often involved in various incidents and seemed to have difficulty adapting to the Williams car, which has significant technical limitations. Replacing Lawson with Colapinto could also be a risk for Red Bull in terms of consistency and long-term talent development. Lawson has been in the Red Bull ecosystem longer and has a better understanding of how the team works. If Red Bull wants to find a driver who can compete at the highest level immediately, keeping Lawson or giving a chance to a driver with more consistent performance might be a wiser choice. Interestingly, Max Verstappen did not support the team's decision to replace Liam Lawson with Yuki Tsunoda at Racing Bulls for next season. According to the three-time world champion, the team's main problem was not who was driving the car, but the characteristics of the RB21, which he felt were too difficult for most drivers to control. We can see how different the drivers are in the other teams. They are usually closer to each other. This shows that our car is very challenging to drive. If Lawson gets the chance to drive full-time for Racing Bulls, I am very confident that he will be able to show his speed and be even more competitive than some of the other drivers on the grid, Verstappen said in an interview. This statement reflects Verstappen's view that finding a replacement for Lawson is not the best solution to improve the Racing Bulls' performance. More important to him is how Red Bull and their technical team can develop the car to make it easier for all drivers, not just him who is used to its characteristics. Verstappen also highlighted how the RB21's unpredictable nature has been a major obstacle for several of the team's drivers. If the team continues to change drivers without addressing the fundamental issues with the car, it will only be a short-term fix that will not yield significant results in the long run. With a Red Bull meeting scheduled for the near future, a decision on the future of Lawson and Tsunoda is likely to be announced soon. If Red Bull decides to go with their old approach, a quick driver change, then we could see a major shake-up in the near future, even before the Japanese GP. The question now is, will Yuki Tsunoda really be promoted to Red Bull in the near future? If so, who will replace him in the Racing Bulls team? This decision is certainly not an easy one, as it will greatly determine the direction of the team, not only for the rest of the season, but also in preparation for the upcoming 2025 season. Tsunoda has shown significant improvements in recent races, but is that enough to convince Red Bull that he deserves a chance in the main team? On the other hand, Liam Lawson is also considered a strong candidate and may need more time and opportunities to prove his potential. Is Tsunoda really ready to move up a level, or is Lawson more deserving of a chance? Write your opinion.